Hello. So I'm going to start today with a story. Hopefully it's a story that we're all familiar with. It's going to be a story about a web project. To begin with, let's meet our client. So this is Clive. Clive is a joiner and a woodworker, cabinet maker. By day, he runs a company called Lovewood Kitchens. At that job, he creates bespoke, beautiful wooden kitchen cabinetry and installations and those types of things. But on the side, Clive's got ambitions of moving into a new area, and he's got a project called Remade by Clive. And this project, he makes upcycled, luxurious furniture from reclaimed materials. So he wants to figure out whether this is a viable business, whether people will be interested in these products. And so he just wants to get an online representation, get his products out there and see what people think. So he reaches out to a developer friend of his called Kate. She's a designer. She works with Umbraco. She likes Umbraco Cloud. So she's well-versed and in a good position to help Clive to do what he needs to do. So Clive gives her a brief. First thing is, he wants to create a site for Remade by Clive. It must clearly showcase his products. He wants to be able to content manage this himself, so when he creates new products, he wants to be able to add those to the site himself, doesn't want to keep going back to Kate every time he needs it updating. And it must be extendable. So right now, it's just a web presence that he wants to promote, but if everything goes well, which he's hoping it will, he'll want to move on and do a little bit more with the site. So 3 weeks goes away, Kate goes away, thinks about the website, comes up with some designs, speaks with Clive, and builds the solution. And this is what she comes up with. So a really clean, simple website with products in a kind of Pinteresty style. We can see all the product images. We can click through, get a nice product description, clear image of the items itself, and we get a nice about page where we can actually talk about Clive and his messaging behind the project. So this is what Kate creates, and Clive goes away, promotes the site, sees how people react to this, and it goes great. So 6 months later, Clive comes back to Kate and asks the next big question, which is, can we add e-commerce to this? So it's gone really well, and he wants to take it to the next step and see if people will actually buy his products online. So this is the question that we're going to answer today. So my name's Matt Brailsford. I'm the Commerce Technical Team Lead here at Umbraco. But for this morning, you can call me Kate. So I'm not going to get dressed up and try and pretend to be Kate, but we are going to step into Kate's shoes, and we're actually going to go through the steps that she would need to go through in order to add e-commerce to the site that she's created for Clive. So first things first, the brief for our e-commerce. So it must be simple to use. So Clive just wants to be able to do his job. He just wants to be able to take orders, manage them, and in a really simple way. It must be on brand, so he spent time with Kate to actually come up with their site design, and he wants to make sure that that's constantly reflected through the whole order process. And yeah, they just spent a lot of time on that, so they don't want to lose that branding that they've done. And lastly, and the big one for Kate is that she's got a real time pressure. So Clive's off to an event. He really wants to be able to promote this and showcase that all of his products are available online. So he's given her a really hard deadline of a week's time. So thankfully, Kate being an Umbraco developer, she's heard about this new product called Umbraco Commerce. She's really confident, or she wants to go research, make sure that this can do everything that she needs to do. And a few key things that stand out for Kate, which are good positives. So it's Umbraco V10 and V12 compatible, so she's obviously been building on the latest tech. She wants to make sure that everything's up to date, and so Umbraco Commerce can do that. It integrates with her existing work. So she spent a lot of time already creating the product pages, and Umbraco Commerce can seamlessly integrate with those product nodes. She's not going to have to recreate those products in some other catalog or in some external system. She can just build on top of everything that she's already done. And it's really well documented as well. So she's confident that she can do this, but if she knows she gets stuck, then there's documentation and clear instruction on how she can move forward. In addition to Umbraco Commerce, there's a few add-ons as well that she can really make use of. Umbraco Commerce Deploy integrates really well with cloud, so she knows she can really easily do deployments. She just has to worry about the implementation and not have to deal with all the complexities of deploying this. There's another plugin called Umbraco Checkout, which is going to help her streamline the checkout flow process. So again, that's going to be a time saver given her strict one-week deadline. And there's various different payment providers, so whatever Clive wants to work with for taking payments, she knows she can integrate that well. So Kate is really confident that this is going to work. We can implement this. I can do this within the week that we've got. So next thing we need to do is just build a plan. How are we going to actually implement this in such a short time frame? So we're going to split this into two. There's a back-end plan or a back-office plan. So the steps that we're going to implement are install Umbraco Commerce, set up a store, connect that store to the content, and then assign some permissions so we can actually access this. The next, after we've done the back end or the back office implementation, we're going to sort the front end. And we're going to add prices to display on our product listings. We're going to show pricing and an add to cart button on our product pages. We'll create a cart count item to appear in the navigation. Then we'll have a simple cart management page and then the checkout flow. So let's start with the back end or the back office. First things first, we're just going to install Umbraco Commerce. So Umbraco Commerce is available as a NuGet package, so we can install this much the same way that we install Umbraco. We can do .NET add package Umbraco Commerce. This will automatically, when you run Umbraco for the first time, run a series of migrations, set up all the database tables that are necessary. So the only thing we then need to do are the following steps to get things set up. First of those steps is to actually define a store. So the way we do this is we log into Umbraco, head to the settings section, and we have a new commerce section. From there, we can right-click on stores, click create new, give the store a name, and that will automatically set up a basic installation of a store. There's a whole bunch of settings that we could go through here. We're happy with the defaults, but there's plenty that you could kind of configure for a default store. Within a store, we have a whole bunch of other items as well, so order statuses, shipping and payment methods, countries, currencies, tax rates. We can configure all of those. And we also have a bunch of templating, so things like email templates, print templates for labels and such. So we could tweak those, configure those to be on-brand, updating email templates, etc. But for the most part, we're pretty happy with the defaults that are configured with our store that we've just set up. So now that we've created the store, we need to connect this to our actual content. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to update our homepage. We're going to add a new property to this. So we've got a site section, so we'll go on to that area. Add a new property editor called Store, and this is going to use a store picker. This is a property editor that comes with Umbraco Commerce, and as its name suggests, it's essentially a picker to pick a store. So we add that to our homepage node. Then we'll go to the root of our content site, scroll down to our new property, click Add, choose the store that we've just created, and that's now created that linkage between the site and the store itself. So we'll see how we'll make use of that a little bit later on. The second thing we need to do is just update our product pages. So everything that's on there already is fine. We can keep all of that. There's just a few key properties that we're going to need for Umbraco Commerce. So the first of those is an SKU. So this is just a unique reference for our product. That can just be a text string. The second thing is a price. So for this, we're going to use a price property editor that comes with Umbraco Commerce. And this is really just a property editor that will automatically show fields for every price that is configured for the given store. So it just simplifies setting that up for you. But yeah, we set those up, add those to the product document type, and then we'll just do one as an example here, but we'll jump to the content section, go to our product node. We'll add an SKU, give the item a price, and that is our product page updated. We'd do that to all of them, but just for example, we're just doing one here. So the last thing to do in the back office is just assign some permissions. So we've got a store, but we want to give access to that store to allow Clive to log in and actually manage the orders that come through. So the first thing, we'll go into the user section, and to make things a little bit cleaner, we'll just set up a new user group. We'll call this commerce, give it a commerce-y icon, so a storefront. We'll assign or allow permission to a new commerce section, so this is exposed by Umbraco Commerce, and then we'll assign the users that we want to give access to the new commerce section. This will give us access to a commerce section, but we also actually need to give explicit permission to each store that the user is able to manage. So for this, we go to the store settings, and there's a permissions tab in the top right, and we can configure that anybody with the commerce user group can access that. Now when we refresh, we see we've got a new commerce section at the top, and when we go into there, we can see the actual store, and this is where our store owner would do their management or handle managing all the orders, and we'll get to those in a moment. So that's our back-end configuration done. So the next thing we need to do is move on to the front end and actually implement the commerce functionality into our website. First things first, the product list. And so this is what our product list at the moment looks like. We've got product images. When we roll over, we see the title of the product. I think it would be really nice if we could just add the price below the product title. So this is essentially what we've got at the moment. So we have a product list item partial. This is rendered in a loop for all of the items in that list. And I've just summarized it here as being a link with a label and the image rendered. So we're going to update this to display the price. So here, the first thing we need to do is we need to get access to a store. And we know we've linked that on the homepage node. So we can actually use built-in Umbraco behavior. So we'll do model.value. We'll say we want to get the store property. So that's the alias of the property. And we'll use fallbacks of going up the ancestry tree. So no matter what product page we're on, it's going to go up the tree till it hits a node that's got a store picker on it, and it'll grab the value from there. Umbraco Commerce, the store picker comes with a value converter already installed, so this will return a strongly typed store model. So we know we can just request that as being the model that is returned from that value. So now we've got a store object. From there, we now need to get the pricing that we need. For this, what we're going to do is we're going to ask the Commerce API to create a product snapshot. And a product snapshot takes the current page's ID and runs it through some processes that Umbraco Commerce understands and extracts the data that it needs to do its job. So it's really just going to extract the name, the pricing, etc., and put it into a model that then Umbraco Commerce can easily deal with. So that's what we call a product snapshot. So to do that, we just call getProduct, pass the store ID, pass the current page's ID, and what language we're currently working in. This will give us a product snapshot, and then from there, we can call a method on that snapshot called calculatePrice. And then below the name field, we can now render the price using a formatted helper method, which converts that value into a formatted value with a currency code, the right decimal points, etc., and displays that in place. So now when we look at our product list, we get the price of that product displayed, and that's our first front-end action off the list, to-do list. Next up, we'll update the product page to do a very similar thing. So this is our product page at the moment. I think it'd be quite nice below that short description just to add the price and an add to cart button there. So we'll create a new partial for this because that's quite self-contained. So we're going to create a product add to cart form. And this is doing very similar things. So we're going to get the price in the exact same way that we just did in the other partial. So we'll get the store, get a product snapshot, calculate the price, and that gets rendered in the form that we're creating. So to create a form, we're going to use Umbraco built-in functionality with the begin Umbraco form. This is going to go to a surface controller. We'll create a surface controller in a moment that will handle all of our cart interactions, but this is what we're going to use. This is going to go to an add to cart method, which we'll create in a second. But inside that form, we render a hidden field, which is just the product reference. So that's the ID of the current page that we're on. So when we click add to cart, that'll get passed through to that surface controller. And we have a button just to submit that. So to our cart surface controller, so this is where we're going to do all of our interactions. This is just the basic outline, but the essential thing here is we've got a surface controller, we've got a constructor that accepts a Commerce API interface. And this is what we're going to use to call various actions. So we're using dependency injection with Umbraco to inject that for us. So all we need is that constructor, and it will automatically get passed in for us. So this is our method, add to cart, and this is going to be a very common blueprint. So we're going to use this pretty much for every method. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to do a try catch. Inside that, we're going to do some kind of logic, which we'll get to in a second. But if we see or receive any validation exceptions, we'll capture those and use .NET's own model state errors. We'll pass that through to say that something went wrong, return to the current page. Or if all of that was successful, we'll write a success message to some temp data and again redirect to the current page. But also in that method, we've got a post model. So this is how we're going to pass in the variables to do various actions. So for this one, it's just add to cart. So we've got an add to cart DTO. This has just got a product reference string, and that's what binds to that hidden field that we saw rendered in the form. Now on to the meat of that function, so actually performing the task that we're asking that method to do. So the first thing we need to do is we call the Commerce API, and we use what we call a unit of work. And a unit of work is, you can essentially think of it as being a transaction. Whatever we're about to do in this code block, do it all or don't do any of it. So it's ultimately maintaining consistency of data. What you don't want is for something to happen half happen, and your order's left in some incompatible state. So anything that's just going to run in this function, we want it all to happen or not at all. So this is all essentially what a unit of work is for. So we've got a unit of work property on the Commerce API, and we'll say execute, passing it a function, and that function is what will run in the unit of work. So inside this function, we do a similar thing. We need to get a store. So in a surface controller, we can do a very similar thing, navigate up the content, the tree structure, getting the store picker from the homepage node again. So very similar to what we were doing in our views. And then next up, we actually need to perform the action. So we'll ask the Commerce API to get or create a current order. If we have an order, we'll keep using it and updating it if we add more products to the cart. But if we don't, this will create a new order for us. Now, the next thing is quite unique to Umbraco Commerce, but essentially everything from Umbraco Commerce's API returns read-only models. And the reason for this is for performance. We keep everything optimized for speed. But what that means is when you need to modify something, you have to convert it into a writable object. And the way we do this is with a method called asWritable. The good thing about this is the asWritable method takes a unit of work object as its argument, which enforces you to make sure that you're always within a unit of work. So it's really promoting by the API that you must be following best practice of doing things in a unit of work. But by calling asWritable, we get a writable object, and on there we can actually perform the task that we really want to do, which is add the product to that order. We add the product, passing in the product reference, the quantity that we want to add, and then we ask the Commerce API to save that order and persist those changes. Lastly, a unit of work needs to be told that it was completed successfully, so we have to end every unit of work action with a complete call, and that just notifies Umbraco Commerce to say that the transaction or the unit of work was complete. And that's the code, that's the add to cart method fully implemented. So now we can just go to the product page, find where the short description was, add that partial that we've just created, and then we can see that we get a nice price displayed and we've got an add to cart button. If we were to click that add to cart button, we wouldn't really see anything visually at the moment. The page would refresh. So let's quickly, if we remember the blueprint of the method, we were passing model state and we were passing notifications if things were successful. So let's quickly handle that. So the way we'll do this is we'll create a new partial called notifications, and this will just use the out-of-the-box validation summary for the model state errors. So if we get any model state errors, we can render those in a nice, pretty way. But if we get a temp data success message, we'll handle that ourselves, just render it in a div with a success class on there and render that out. So we'll update the layout. Right at the bottom of the layout page, we'll just render that notifications. That'll get reused for every method. And now when we actually press add to cart, we just get a nice visual indication to show that the add to cart operation was successful. So the next task that we've got is to add a cart count. So it'd be nice in the navigation if we could see that there was actual item, an indication that there were items in the shopping cart. So for this, we're going to create another new partial called cart count. Again, we're seeing very similar patterns. So the first thing we need is a store, so we'll get that in the same way. We need an order, because we're going to work out how many items are in that order. Now in the cart count partial, we don't want to create an order. So if one doesn't exist, we'll just leave it. That will return null. But if we do have an order, we want to get that. So we just call get current order rather than get and create that we saw before. So we've got this. We'll render a link, which will go to a cart page, which we'll create in a second. We'll show a little shopping cart icon. So this is just using Font Awesome for that. But then we'll just say, if we have an order, render the total quantity to string. If we don't, just return a 0, showing that there's no items in the shopping cart. We'll, again, update the layout CSHTML file, find the loop where we're rendering the navigation, and just drop that partial in there. And now when we look at the front end in our navigation, we can see we've got a nice little cart icon, and we've got a number that's representing how many items are actually in our shopping cart. If we try to click that, it'll go through to a cart page. So we need to create that next, and that's what's on our to-do list now. So I won't go into the process of the design of all of this, but it's quite a simple design for a cart management. It should be fairly familiar with pretty much everybody who buys stuff online. But there's two main features or functions that we need to implement on this page. So the first of those is being able to update the quantities. So the way that we do this on this layout is we have numeric input fields for every item in the order, and then we've got a refresh button that will update them all at once. So it'll send all the quantities through and update all the order lines with any changes. So there's a lot of code here, but this is essentially a summarized view of that cart page. So again, we get the store, we get the current order, and then we'll begin a form. So this is going to go to an update cart method, which we'll create in a second on the same cart surface controller. We'll loop through the order items, and for each order item, we will render a hidden field, which just contains the ID of the current line or the order item, and then we'll render a numeric input field for the quantity value for that item. So we're just looping through all the orders and rendering those two fields. Then outside of that loop, we've just got a refresh button that will trigger sending all of that data back, and we'll handle and update the cart accordingly. Update cart method, same blueprint, try catch. That's handling all the notification stuff for us. Key thing here is we've got an update cart DTO that's handling the post model. Inside this, we have an order lines property, which for each order line that gets passed through, we've got that ID and the numeric input that was those fields that we saw being rendered. So to the meat of this, again, we've got Commerce API. We ask to start a new unit of work. We get the current store. We get the current order. We make that writable, and then we get to the work. So we'll loop through all of the order lines that are in our post model, and then we'll ask the order to say with order line. And this essentially just changes the context. So we've moved from doing operations on the order, and we say with order line, so this switches the context to that order line. So from there, we can then say set quantity, and that is updating that particular order line. So we loop through each of the orders, order lines, updating to the quantity that was posted back through. So we do loop through all of those. Then we ask the Commerce API to save the order again, commit the unit of work, and that's our update action implemented. So the second thing we need on that page is a remove link. So we'll just put this below the title. For this, we'll update the cart page again. So rather than submitting a form, we'll use another option within Umbraco, which is a surface action, and it essentially lets you post back to a controller as a link rather than as a form. So we'll render this, we'll go to a remove from cart action, just passing in the order line ID that we want to remove. Remove from cart function, same blueprint, new model, remove from cart, and as you might expect, that's just got an order line ID that's been bound to the property that's passed in the query string, and then we have the action again. Get the store, get the order, make it writable, and then we call remove order line, passing in the order line ID to remove. We save that order, persist the unit of work, and that's the function complete. So you can see it's very repetitive in terms of how it all gets put together, but relatively simple after that. So with those two functions, we've got a fully functional cart now. We can see that we can remove items from that shopping cart. We can update quantities, hit the refresh button, and our totals will get updated automatically, and everything's working as we would expect it to work. So yeah, we haven't got a lot of time left, and yet we've got a massive task of implementing a checkout flow. So this could easily be the hardest part of implementing all of this. But thankfully, me as Kate has got an easy way to kind of cheat this as well. So we do have another package called Umbraco Commerce Checkout, and this allows us to have a really nice, clean, simple checkout flow automatically installed pretty simply. So the way that we do that, install the NuGet package, same as the Umbraco Commerce plugin. But when you install Umbraco Checkout, you get a new dashboard in the settings section. Click install, you choose the root node where you want to install the checkout to, and then press install, and it automatically creates a bunch of data types, a bunch of document types, and sets up a content structure for you. So in the content section, what you get is a new checkout node with all the steps that are relevant to the checkout. And you also get a few config options for assigning a logo, choosing a colorway that's close to your branding options, and yeah, just makes it really simple and ready to go checkout process. And if we go to the front end now, we've got a complete checkout flow. We can enter our customer details. We can choose the shipping methods, payment methods, have a full review at the end, and an order confirmation. And all we had to do was install that package and do a few simple configuration options in the back office. As well as the full checkout flow, you also get an email template, again, using those same options for theming and customization, so they remain on brand and looking how you would want, like professional and as you would want them to look. So there we go, job done. Within half an hour, we've managed to fully implement e-commerce into our website. So what we've got is an updated site. We can see prices on the items. We can go through, we can see the product details. It looks exactly the same as it did before, but we've added in the add to cart buttons. We can see the pricing. We can add those items to the shopping cart, and we can actually go through and process all of that through a checkout flow, and we get nice email notifications that everything looks great. And for our store owner, he's also got a really nice interface, so when he logs into the back office, he can actually see how his store's doing, gets a nice dashboard that shows how his store's doing today. He can go through to the orders. You can order them all in nice order statuses, in color coordinated to make it easier to find things. We can do filtering, so we can easily find orders and be able to help customers if they've got any problems with anything. All the order details are really clean. We try and limit the amount of information, so it's just crisp and easy to do, stay on task doing what you need to do. We can do various things with discounts and gift cards, so we can offer promotions if you want to try and bump up sales, or offer alternative purchase options with gift cards. We've got analytics that allows us to see that we're staying on track, we're meeting our KPIs, and understanding that the store is actually doing what it needs to do. So yeah, all of that within half an hour. I think that's a pretty good going, really. Needless to say, Clive was really happy. He managed to Kate hit the deadline. He managed to go to his event. It was a real success, and he was just really pleased with the implementation. So again, just to finally recap, in this, we've managed to install and set up Umbraco Commerce. We've managed to update the site with full e-commerce functionality. We've simplified the checkout process by using Umbraco Commerce Checkout, making that really clean and easy to implement. And probably most of all, we managed to deliver on time, on budget, and really pleased our customer and exceeded their expectations. So just a few things in terms of what's next for Umbraco Commerce. So our next big thing is a headless API. So how we're seeing that with Umbraco 12, we want to make sure we bring this to Umbraco Commerce as well. This opens up good opportunities for Clive. Maybe he wants to do terminals, or at shows he wants to actually take payments at events. Then we can start to think about developing terminal applications or mobile applications, etc. So that's a good opportunity for Clive. Shipping method providers. So we've got quite a nice, easy way of doing connecting to payment gateways. We would like to do this with shipping providers as well. For Clive, that might mean more dynamic shipping pricing. So he's obviously producing quite bulky items, so it'd be nice to be able to calculate shipping dynamically based upon the size and weight, etc. of the products. So that's what shipping method providers will allow. And then we've got back office localization. So right now, the back office itself is only in English. There's no restriction in terms of what you can do front end. Your front end can be in whatever language you need your front end to be. But we know with the CMS, you expect that to be localizable to the back office user. So we want to make sure we bring that to Umbraco Commerce as well. And then the big ticket item on every package developer's list at the moment is the new UI that's coming in V14. So there's going to be a lot of work there. But thankfully, now that we're inside Umbraco, we've got a whole heap of people with knowledge that we can hit up and make sure we can get this done and get ready for when V14 comes along. But yeah, that's it. So thank you very much. Hope that was good.